Hi everyone and welcome for this 4 days of tutorials, this time with how to paint yellow by a very quick and direct way. We are going to use airbrush and after that brush. Thanks again for all my Patreon who have the chance to see this tutorial before everyone else. Thanks again and let's go for the paint. So first of all, I primed all the miniatures in black, and after I'm going to make a first step with my white with airbrush to push all my highlights, and I'm going to use some contrast yellow paint just after that. So I'm going to push a lot of white on all the model. I'm going to push after that the contrast paint. Don't hesitate to put a lot of contrast paint on all the model and let the paint totally dry before the next step. It's pretty important because we are going to use airbrush for the next step. And if you use airbrush on non-totally dry contrast, that's going to push the color and make some very strange things. So now we start with some yellow color from Pro Color, and I push my highlight and I clean the different zone because with contrast sometimes the paint dry in a very weird way, and airbrush help me to clean that. So I make two steps with yellow, the first one, and after when it's totally dry again, I'm going to push again some yellow to push more and more contrasts on the yellow parts, the one who receives the more the light. If you have any doubt about that, don't hesitate to take a look and put your miniatures directly just under the light, so you are going to see the surface who are a little bit brilliant. So that's the surface you need to push the highlight. So I continue with my yellow, but this time I had a little bit white into my yellow, and I am going step by step to focus on the smaller and smaller surfaces to be sure to have a nice transition. This kind of surfaces is pretty interesting with airbrush because it's a little bit round and it's pretty easy. So I had a little bit more white again, and I continue to focus on a smaller and smaller part. If you have a Space Marine or this kind of minis, it's just perfect to try this yellow color with your airbrush. Now I start the shadow with some red earth from Vallejo. This is a sienna earth, and after when I make this shadow, I start by using my white and my brush and a little bit of yellow to push all the edges in white. This is pretty important. Really nice miniatures who are painted with airbrush will definitively be finished with brush. As you can see, we have a different kind of surfaces, so I can show you. For example, sometimes I'm going to push line, and on the round surfaces I'm going to push a point, and after I'm going, when this point will be totally dry, I'm going to use wet paint to push the color from shadow to this highlight, as you can see on the shoulder, for example. And after I'm going to show you again on the backpack. The most important things is to let the paint totally dry before come back on the mini. So don't hesitate to make very small step and turn your minis and work on all your minis all the same color in the same time to let the time to the paint to be totally dry before the next step. The most difficult for a lot of us is about round surfaces, and the technique to push a point and to highlight exclusively to this point, as you can see right now. This method is pretty interesting because it's going to hack a little bit your trouble, and just the most important thing is to wait the paint will be totally dry. And as you can see, I'm going from one step to another side just to let the paint be totally dry. I know that I repeat that a lot of time, but it's a trouble and a problem I feel a lot when I give some class, so that's important. So now I come back with white directly color, but don't use too much white, just some points, just some few points, and that's going to give more life to your miniatures. The yellow color is very interesting to paint because it can be a little bit weird at a beginning, but finally that's give a lot of life to your miniatures. So don't hesitate, I try and use this kind of method. Now I come back for the last step, the shadow. Just with my brush I'm going to clean the different shadow. So you can directly use the whiskey color from Procolor. Is a very yellow brown who can be pretty interesting when you paint some yellow. I really hope you like this new kind of format of tutorial. Thanks again to all my Patreon. Don't hesitate to like this tutorial, to comment if you have any question, and see you tomorrow for the next Christmas tutorial. See you guys.